Fix something, they always break something else.
Hey, good morning, good morning. Michael and Israel are back.
We're back.
Back. And I'm going to go ahead and throw this out there. We had our traditional microphone setup was being a little glitchy. Yay, 2022. Please let me know that you can hear us all right. If not, then we'll troubleshoot because I don't really want to sit here and talk to the camera and nobody can hear or understand us. But it looks like it's working pretty decent on our end. But if somebody could just comment that, yep, you can hear us, that it's clear, that we don't sound like garbage. Awesome. Thank you, David. And I see a Happy New Year. Well, that ended up pretty big. There we go. All right. So Happy New Year and good Christmas. Good. You didn't work at all, right? Didn't come in here.
Not on Christmas Day. I worked 90% of the 2 weeks we were off, if you want to call it off. Somebody had to be here.
Well, finished up the new sign.
Yeah. Well, the sign's up. Unfortunately, I had to rig it up with an extension cord until Alabama Power shows up to put power to the pole.
Gotcha. All right.
But I'm making it work.
Well, it looks good. I drove by the other night coming down 77. And
I couldn't stand it.
It looks good.
Couldn't stand it being out there dark at night. And I had to go pull about 5 extension cords together.
So if you've been looking, I'm getting a phone call. Daggum. That's so unprofessional.
You got to bring donuts now.
Yeah, I do. All right. So, we got a brand new big old sign. So if you're looking for an excuse to come down here and say, hey, come check out our big new Bucks Island sign. But no, happy to be back. I think 2022, sadly, we're not showing up with manufacturers going, hey, we got tons more boats for you. But making through, boats are coming in. I'm seeing pontoon boats are starting to get in here and sit. No, I think everybody's ready to get rolling for 2022. And it's crazy that the season is almost upon us again.
It's upon us.
So, yeah. So what questions do you guys have? If you don't have any, I pulled a few from the interwebs, and I'll bring those up. Any big things going on from the service side of pretty much? I know I was in here a few times while we were closed the last 2 weeks, and a couple of guys in working on little projects here and there.
Yeah,
Seems like
I got a few guys to come in and work while we were on a skeleton crew, so to speak.
I know it's kind of nice to shut down, even though that usually just means that.
It slows the traffic down enough to get some of the what I call honeydews done.
Gotcha.
I'm the honeydew guy, so
yeah.
If something, I worked on the forklift. I had to change brakes on the forklift, and then work on some hydraulics, and do some knick-knack stuff that it's hard to do while people are saying hey is.
Yeah.
All day. So.
Yeah. Well, and if you guys haven't seen, I occasionally I'll post pictures or we'll get an Instagram story of unloading boats, but we've got the big red forklift that we just pick those boats up and move them around as needed.
Yeah.
It's not something you see every day. Seeing a 24-foot pontoon boat flying through the sky down the dealership is. It's pretty nice. All right, David, will y'all get any Yamaha Show 200s in anytime soon?
On the back of a boat, maybe.
Yeah, that's
probably a year out.
Yeah. I have to look. I don't know the inventory off the top of my head. I don't think we had 1 or 2 of the bigger horse motors in both Yamaha and Mercury, and I can't remember. But probably pretty unlikely to get anything like that anytime soon. Those bigger horse motors. We've got, I think, a lot of like 90s and below we seem to be getting a pretty good shipment of those. Of course, a lot of the 90s and 115 like Mercuries are all going to be set aside for the pontoons because we typically get those.
We do have a few. We have some excess 115s that we bought some extra ones of from the manufacturers of. But anybody needs one of those, I'm sure we can work out something.
So honestly, David, and I've said it before, if you really are in the market to get one, reach out to us and we'll get you paired up with one of the sales folks.
If you want one real soon, you just bring your whole boat in and then trade it with one that's got one on the back of it. That's about the easiest way to get one right now.
There is that. But no, seriously, getting up and talking with our either Larry Davis or our motor guy or one of our other sales folks to really make some phone calls and see what the latest and greatest is. Our manufacturers, I'd say on average at least about once a month, kind of the story is changing as they figure out things on their end. You know, it's not, I mean, I think everybody's doing their best they can to get accurate, decent information. Everybody knows the conditions we're in, but there's some genuine issues.
And there's some motors out there that just are all going to the manufacturers first. They get priority because they're selling us the boats to sell people. So they're going to prioritize them for probably another year, and then they'll start letting them trickle out to the dealers.
All right. Well, I'm going to pull up some questions. Here's a quickie as we as some of our boats, some of the boats are sitting in people's garages and they're looking for some winter projects to get things ready to go for the next season. It says time to replace my tires. Any recommendations on tire brand? This particular guy's got a ZX300. You got any recommendations if you're looking at replacing your trailer tires on?
I think the best ones we've really come across is the Goodyear Marathons. They seem to hold up for a long time. So anything, I mean, if you want to really spend some money, you can get some Michelins. That's what I run. I love them. But the fact that you don't have propulsion on a trailer, it doesn't matter that, you know, they're not spinning. So you just want something that'll hold a heavy load, of course.
Yep.
And then we'll hold up to dry rot. Because really, unless you're really doing like 50,000 miles or something a year, then trailer tires should last a long time. If they're wearing out real fast and you've got something going on.
And of course, if you got them, I mean, if you're a pontooner and you use it, you know, 4 or 5 times a year, you know, where it sits in storage is probably going to play a lot more in terms of longevity. Maybe worth getting the cheaper tires, like you said, if you're a bass guy that's getting on the road all the time.
And Carlisle is what a lot of them send. Not a big fan of Carlisle tires. They don't seem to hold up as far as dry rot real well. You have to keep them treated. But the Goodyear Marathons is probably the best. I'm pretty sure they still make those, but they're a little more expensive. But they hold up dry rot a lot better.
Can't go wrong with some of those Goodyear Michelins. I mean, you're spending the money, but you're getting what you
pay for.
Getting what you pay for. All right, David, I have a full tank of gas and bass boat with stable. Will that be okay? Do I need to add more during the winter?
I would not add any more to if you've used the recommended dose in there, it's done. You know, the more you add, you're just adding alcohol to the mix. So, granted, it's isopropyl alcohol, which is not the worst stuff in the world, but it's not going to do you much. You know, we don't want to dilute it any more than it is. We've been trying to encourage people to try to get as much gas out of it before they store it now, just because the quality of the gas has gone down so far, especially with our lovely corn gas that we have to use. That corn gas does not just doesn't do any good for anybody except people who grow corn. So,
well,
If you're a farmer,
yeah.
Congratulations.
So what does David need to be thinking about with his boats laid up and getting ready?
My recommendation is it depends on how long you're letting it sit. A lot of people fish in the wintertime. If you're still fishing a little bit, then it may be okay. The other thing is did you have summer blend fuel in there and now it's wintertime? That can cause some issues. My full recommendation would be as soon as you're ready to use it is to get rid of it. Get rid of the gas. And then, you don't, I mean, if you've got like a quarter of a tank left when you do that, and you got nowhere to put any, then you could fill it on up. But my recommendation is to get as much old gas out of these systems now as possible before you run the boat, because even these brand new boats that have knock sensors on them and stuff, this newer style gas that they're running is killing the engines. So you have to be careful.
All right. Well,
and over the wintertime, especially kind of, I don't know where you are, David, I can't remember, but here it was 80 degrees last week and now it's 25 degrees. So that's something you have to consider, because when you get hot spells and really cold spells, there's a lot of condensation that can build up in the fuel tanks, and you'll get a little bit of water in there. Okay, so
Texas.
sometimes y'all have snow, right?
Well, in North Texas, yeah. I never saw.
The good news is if you're in a real dry part of Texas, you could be okay. The drier your weather is, the better, the longer your gas will last. But on the other hand, the hotter your weather is, it deteriorates the gas fast too. So here in the dead of summer, it's 100 degrees and 100% humidity. It deteriorates really fast. So.
Yeah, I'd get that throttle cable fixed, and the next time we got another good 60, 70 degree day, go out and run a tank out, and be good for.
And the sooner you get rid of it, the better, because if you get rid of it now or close to now, like in the next couple of weeks or maybe even a month at the most, then you go ahead and run it out instead of having to pump it out. Because once it gets to a certain level of octane and degradation, it's not really good to run it.
Yeah. Where are you in Texas? I think we've probably talked about that before, but I can't remember. North Texas, South Texas. It's a bit of a difference. All right. How do we address manufacturer defects on new Skeeter?
Well, I don't know where you are, Mark. Your best thing to do is contact your local dealer. I mean, that's going to start there. Not everybody, depending on the defect, is it like a fiberglass defect, or is it like my drain plug's not working, my pump out's not working, something like that? If it's a mechanical issue, then just call your dealer. And then they can get you set up for an appointment, or you can bring it into them. Otherwise, if it's gel coat kind of related, stuff like that, then you have to, okay, so you need to find a dealer in your area that deals with fiberglass. Sometimes they have to sub it out to somebody else. We do our own in-house fiberglass here. We're usually backed up pretty far, so sometimes you have to set up an appointment if you brought it to us to do it. We actually had a guy from Indiana call us and found out that we did fiberglass, and he was having a hard time getting a local place to do it. And he's like, well, I'm going to Florida in August. Can I just drop my boat off and I'll be there for 2 weeks and come back and get it? And so we set him up for an appointment to fix the fiberglass. So if it's something simple, sometimes we can do that. If it's more complicated, then we have to assess that.
The key is Skeeter dealer. Start there. The bigger takeaway is don't try to go manufacturer direct. The boat industry as a whole, not just Skeeter, but most of your manufacturers are not really designed to deal direct with the customer with stuff like that, and that's why they have partnerships with dealers like us. Our service manager and there's the service desk. They deal with customers day in and day out, and they deal with a lot of warranty and all that kind of stuff. So, and other dealers are going to be similar. Whereas Skeeter, for example, is not really designed to take phone calls from, tons and tons and tons of people.
Yeah.
Not to say that, they should respond if you do, or they may refer you to another dealer. But that's I've seen a lot of frustrations with some guys, particularly when you read stuff on threads on the internet, on Facebook groups and stuff like that about how the manufacturer wouldn't. Well, that's really not the way they're designed. We'd work direct with the manufacturers if it's a problem that is too big or can't be. Every now and again, if you get into the a big enough deal that
hey, the boat, the whole out.
Yeah, the boat's got to go swap back. You honestly, you want to let a dealer take care of that. You paid for the boat. You ought to get the service that you deserve. Hate that you're having an issue with it, but hopefully it's a minor fiberglass fix, and so. And if nothing else, again, I don't know where you are, Mark, but if nothing else, give us a call if you don't have a good local dealer.
We at least point you in the right direction.
And I would take this opportunity as a sales guy to say that that after the sales support is something really critical. I've talked to folks. You may save $1,000 traveling somewhere else to buy a boat, but is that the dealer that can give you support? Because new boats are going to have some issues.
Yeah.
So it just is what it is. So hope that helps. I feel like that was a really long answer. Is it better or worse to run an outboard all the way out of gas?
I would say don't run it all the way out of gas. I would just get, if you're trying to get most of the gas out of your boat, you get down to about 1/8 of a tank, I would stop there. So for more than one reason, just.
And again, are you asking like for winterization or just like in general running it all the way out?
I would still, in general, not run it all the way out because if you take you can't get all the fuel out of the engine. So just say if it's got a fuel module in there, which is like a little canister that holds the fuel pumps and your particular motor, which is a 175 4-stroke Pro XS. And so, and then the fuel rails, so what'll happen is if you figure out a way, to run it till it goes dead, there's a little bit of fuel that's going to be left in the fuel rail at the very bottom, and there's going to be a little bit of fuel left in that fuel module. And what's going to happen to that is it's going to have so much surface area of air, on it, it's going to really go bad real fast.
Gotcha.
And even in the fuel rail, you're going to it's going to run until the fuel rail is empty of about halfway empty, because it's going to stop running once it gets no fuel pressure. And so that fuel rail is going to have about halfway full of fuel in it. And so that's going to degrade as well because there's air trapped in there. And then those engines, you have to purge the fuel system a certain way to get it to even idle right anymore once you pull that fuel out. So, and typically what I see is somebody empties that fuel module about halfway, that fuel in there that's still in the pump, that may be halfway up that pump, it'll start turning into a sticky, varnished, nasty thing.
Mm-hmm.
And it may not ever turn the fuel pump over again. So it's good to keep those, in fluid.
Okay.
For sure.
So for winterizing, don't run it all the way.
No, and then, get some fuel stabilizer in your tank, go run your boat. That way it's getting in your engine a little bit. And then, and if you're not a real high humidity area, you probably don't even have to, put, the fogging oil and stuff in the engine. If you are, and if it's going to be like 6 months, then you want to put some fogging oil, or you'd have to pull the plugs out and squirt it directly into the cylinders. Okay, I got you. But either way, One of the biggest, most important things for winterizing a lot of boats nowadays is checking the gear oil for water, because sometimes you get fishing line in there, especially if you're in a place that freezes a lot. So you want to get in there and find out if there's water in it. And if there's no water in it, you're in pretty good shape. If there's water in it, don't need to drain it and leave it drained, because it'll rust and seize up. But you have to get that water out of there. And if you don't have it fixed all the way, right away, you'll have to get oil back in it, and that'll save your lower unit. Otherwise, it'll actually freeze and bust the sides or spit the carrier out the back.
Oof. That's expensive.
All right, he had another question up there about RPM.
Yep. Let me pull that up. What RPM should I peak out at on a Merc 175 Pro XS?
About 6,000 RPMs is a pretty good general. I think the RPM limiter is probably 6250, something like that. But 6,000 is a good place. 5,800 is okay. What I wouldn't do is, if you know for sure that's the exact RPM, I wouldn't want to run below 5,500 RPMs at full speed, because that has a tendency of lugging the engine a little bit and can cause piston slap and scar up the walls of your cylinder. So.
All right. Here's one that I found. If you guys, and I think we're about done. We've been going 25 minutes now. Wow, not bad for starting the new year. Appreciate the question, guys. Found this in the Yamaha group. Interesting thing. My engine does 2002 225 4-stroke. Every once in a while, my engine won't start. Crank no start, even though it's been on and off all day. Then leave it sitting for 5 to 10 minutes. Starts right up. Today, while running at 4,500 RPM, it died and did the same thing. Crank no start, no alarms. I've checked vapor lock. Primer bulb is rock solid. Battery voltage is perfect. Oil level perfect. Any ideas? 25 4-stroke. These are the kind of questions I like to bring in to test you.
Yeah. My first inclination is your fuel pump's going bad. It's overheating and it's just dying. That's either that or it's the fuel pump. But you got two on that engine. You have a lift pump and then you got your high pressure pump.
Okay.
But I would definitely check if it had fuel pressure. Otherwise you may have a fuel restriction. Typically, fuel restriction can overheat the fuel pump and actually cause vapor lock while you're running. But typically, if your bubble's still firm, then that's probably not the issue. But it's been an older engine. Your brushes on that fuel pump may be bad, so I would definitely check fuel pressure first.
All right, and here's a follow up from Brandon. It's running 5,800 RPM right now. Should I raise the jack plate?
That's a pretty decent RPM. So you can try, but I don't know if you're going to see any speed change. What you may see is you might start losing water pressure. So if you have a water pressure gauge, I say try it and see what it does. Boat RPM and performance is all experimental. Depending on the boat. So if you want to know for sure, try it. But I would recommend, if you did not have a water pressure gauge, I would probably recommend against it, because you don't know. You could be running right on the edge and sucking air, and on long runs you can cause hot spots in your motor, and we don't want to do that. So.
All right.
And that motor doesn't have low water pickup, so.
Well,
it doesn't.
I hope that helps. Yeah, you start tweaking on all that with jack plates and props and all that kind of stuff. It seems like the answer is always, well, it depends.
It always depends.
David, it is glad to have you, and thank you so much for the kind words. All right. Well, Brandon, you are welcome. I think we're going to go keep rolling with 2022, and we're gonna see about trying to get a good discussion. I think will be interesting here in the next week or two on Tech Tuesday. I'm not gonna say any more because I don't. If it doesn't fall through, then I don't. We'll just keep on going.
I'm gonna get your hopes up.
But yeah, so let us know what other questions you guys come up with. Maybe we need to do some more topical stuff. I don't know. I mean, if guys keep asking questions, then we'll keep trying to answer them, I guess. So works pretty well. So thank you guys. Y'all have a wonderful afternoon, and we will talk to y'all again next week.
There you go.
See you guys.